Alrighty, guys, we have an absolute cracking episode for you today. I've got my really good friend Mark. We actually have a good story together. Mark and I, we're going to cover 8 simple principles for you to set up your gym for sale. The reason for this, guys, is I've been getting so many questions about selling my gyms. And to be really honest, it was an absolute fucking nightmare. But I sold it to my business partners, so my knowledge, all the prices were set in the contracts. My knowledge is very, very limited on this stuff. So I got my good friend and actually the first person who gave me a job in fitness in Sydney, Mark Richardson. Mark, mate, thank you so much for all you've done for me, but also jumping on the podcast. Mate, do you want to give the guys like a little 60, 90-second overview of who you are, what got you here today? Because you have such an incredible journey in fitness, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm considered a dinosaur these days. Just tipped over 25 years in the industry. Started like most as a standalone PT in a big box gym. Um, Paying rent, doing my best. There
Yep.
was no such thing as coaches back in that day for PTs. My
The Pump
training,
House, wasn't it called?
the pump house at Neutral Bay. Yeah. What an
Yep.
institution that place is, or was. And it was very raw personal training. Like PT was basically created from footballers training their mates in the off season.
Yep.
And I'd come from a cricket AFL background, and so that was like the next best thing was to go into gyms. I remember going to the owner of the gym and going, "All right, hey, great, thanks for the job. How do I get clients?" And he was like, "Mate, there's 3,000 members. Do your best." And it was
Go get them.
literally walking out into, and like in the mid 90s, you walk onto a gym floor and it's like a zoo. Like
Yep.
they're all roided up. It was like blokes doing weights, girls doing aerobics. That was it.
Yep.
I quickly worked out that service was the game. Like I truly believe we're in the business of customer service and relationships. We just happen to have this great vehicle behind us, which is the fitness industry and whatever your particular vehicle is. So I fill my book with PT sessions there. I ended up getting 3 sort of outdoor contract trainers working for me, and then
Yep.
set up my first PT studio. 2007 it would have been, at Neutral Bay, and then a year later the Brookvale one that you ended up buying. Um,
Yep.
had them for like 8 years altogether. Then went into a business consultancy kind of role with Anytime Fitness head office, and then had an
I remember
opportunity.
that.
Yeah, they did that for about 18 months. And then an opportunity came up to buy the F45 territory that I live in at Willoughby. So
Yep.
set that up in 2017. I'm sitting in my office in the studio now. I had that for the last 4 years. Worked for F45 head office. Ended up
Yep.
being their global performance director, putting together their sort of sales and customer service and recruitment processes. I'm a sales and ops guy, so I just love being in and amongst it.
Yep.
And then left there and set up my own consultancy business, and then have become a business broker this year.
Yep.
I guess I've set up and sold now 6 businesses of my own. Or set up and or sold 6 of them. I think I've sold 3 or 4. So I really enjoy that process. I love looking through P&Ls. I like seeing how people set their business up. So
Yep.
for me going forward, this is like doing fitness business broking, is
Yep.
the future for me. I'm really loving it.
Mate, absolutely incredible. And I remember when I sold code, like it was kind of like it's a funny feeling when you sell a business. You're happy. You also think about the memories that you had. It's like a new journey in life. And I remember one of my mentors, Charlie, just said like you completed the wheel. Like that's why you have a business. Like you did it. So
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely like incredible being able to sell a business. Just like a mix of emotions going into it for sure.
Oh, 100%, especially your first business, because it's your baby, isn't it? It's like you're so emotionally attached to it. And I recall when I sold my Neutral Bay PT studio, my first emotion was guilt. That I'd had some of those clients for 12 years.
Yeah.
Before I even opened the studio up, And
Yep.
I've struggled to kind of look them in the eye and tell them that I'd sold the studio. But I remember one of my members there, one of my clients, he came up to me and he goes, "How you feeling?" And I said, "Mate, I'll be honest, I feel really guilty." And he goes, "Don't be at all." He said, "You don't owe your career to anyone." And that's like,
Yep.
that's stuck with me to this day, that you don't owe your career to anyone. It's one of the few things in your life where you have to be really selfish about. And for
Yep.
me, it was, he goes, "You've set up a business. You've now sold a business." Like he just said, full circle. He said, "My only challenge to you is to go do something bigger and better."
Yep.
And that was like a real, I've never forgotten that. And I always think that whenever I do move on from a business, do something bigger or better. I think that's the key. It's
Absolutely
a
love it.
stepping stone in your career.
Nah, mate, it's a pretty hot topic in fitness at the moment, especially with like COVID and things like that.
Yeah.
I've been asked more about selling a business than I could ever think possible. But mate, you have 8 points for us today, so I think I'm going to be a little bit more of a student today, and I'm really excited to learn off you. So, if someone's looking to sell their business, their fitness business, where do they kind of start, mate?
Well, the question I ask any business owner, whether I'm working with them on a consultancy basis or a broking basis, is, what's your why?
Yep.
Why do you do what you do, and why are you selling your business? Like, are you selling for the right reason? Um, Someone walking through the door with a bag of cash might be very lucrative, but is it actually the right move for you and your business? And have you planned what's next? And
Yep.
I say this one from experience, because I had a broker come into my business and say, "Hey, I've got a motivator buyer for you." And literally within 2 weeks, I was handing my business over. It was time for me to go, don't get me wrong, but I hadn't done the what's next. And all of a sudden, I'm
Yeah.
out on the street with no job. And it's like, okay. And at first, I was like, cool, I'm going to be one of those dudes like having coffee at 10 a.m. and I'm watching sport all the time. Literally, after 6 weeks, I was crawling up the walls. I was so goddamn bored that I was
Yep.
like, I've got to go find a job here. So, unless you're retiring, go plan the what's next. And once again, make it bigger and better. That's my challenge to people. Um, Two is how do you want to sell? Do you want to sell it yourself? We've done that. I've done both. I've sold one myself and one through a broker. Um,
Yep.
it's understand the pros and cons. Selling it yourself is great if you know you've got someone who wants to buy it, but
Yep.
you got to be careful you don't create a market of one-on-one, right? Because then you've got no leverage. Like, you want to create a market. The other thing is, it's super easy to get an offer on a business. Like, getting an offer
Yep.
is the easy part. From offer to settlement, that's where the work really begins. That's where the nitty-gritty stuff happens, where you've got to make sure that any franchise agreements are reassigned, leases, all
That's at
financials
the
are up to date. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Mate, at Code, like, I kind of wish I went through a broker. Like, it was kind of like Connor and I just like arguing about little bits and pieces here and there. But then also so much we forgot. So we had a deal, and then the lawyers came in and like, boys, you haven't even thought about this, and this. And we're like, push the deal out like another 4 months. And like the leases was a big one, getting your leases transferred over so you're not liable. Just so many little bits and pieces that I learnt selling a business that I had no idea on. It's kind of crazy, actually.
And like, how much stuff is out of your control? There's a point where it's like, all right, I'm now waiting for a lawyer for this, a landlord for this, a franchise company for this, and
Yep,
their timeline is completely different to yours. They actually don't care about your timeline, a lot of it.
yep,
And so that's what can drag a sale out. And time kills all sales, regardless of what process you're in. So yeah, I go in with eyes wide open, because I've used a broker for businesses I've sold because I want to emotionally detach myself from the sale. I want to
yep,
say, here's the reports. You do it. Now I can go and talk about someone else's business very matter of factly. Here's what it is. Here's the features of it. Here's the benefit. Here's the opportunity. And the helicopter view is much stronger than someone who's in there who obviously sees much greater value in it than a buyer because it's their baby, you know? And my thing is do what you do best, outsource the rest. So it can take 3 to 6 months to sell and settle a business. You need to keep running your business. Like, you don't want to get caught up in all of that other stuff. You need to keep running your business. And that's my next point. Keep your business growing. Like, don't mentally check out. A lot of times when I equate selling a business as the same as breaking up with a partner. And that is a lot of times by the time you've made the decision to sell, you've actually mentally left the building.
Sure.
And it's like hands are up in the air. Like, that's the time where you got to put the foot on the pedal so that someone's coming into a growing business and not a dying business. So that's super important. You have a growth mindset. I tell people who I coach, run your business as if you're going to sell it, because that way you'll keep things clean, you'll keep it growing, keep it compliant. And to that point, keep your financials really clean. Cleaner financials equals a quicker and easier sale. Have a think. I know what you're laughing about. Have a think when you're
just laughing about my books, bro. Like, it was like a country club code. Like, clearing our books was like a fucking nightmare when you've just got 2 business partners traveling the world on the books and shit. Was not good.
Yeah. How many young guys, standalone operators, are having, golf and beers every weekend? Oh, we talked about business, didn't we, boys? Yeah, put it on the card. Come to sell it, and it's like $80,000 of general expenses or entertainment. It's like, if you haven't got receipts, you kill the value of your business. So my strong recommendation is avoid personal expenses unless you've got receipts and it's legitimate. Same with cash payments. Cash payments kill a sale. For a couple of reasons. One, some people will want to see tax returns. If they're not on there, they don't exist. And the other thing is, business these days, what you're actually buying is the direct debit run, aren't you? You're buying guaranteed income in the future. If you're like, mate, there's 50 grand worth of cash comes in here as well. It's like, well, mate, where is it? So some buyers will like, sorry, you could have told me anything there. If it's not on P&Ls, it doesn't exist for a lot of buyers. And to that point,
it makes sense. Like, if it's not on the P&L, it doesn't exist. Like, especially as you're selling, because when we were like setting up our business for sale for like the 3 months before, we ran it very different from when I wasn't preparing to, but I wish I did that for 12 months before, so cash is good. But not good for a sale.
PTs love it, 100%. And that's the other thing. The trap can be to, I'm selling my business, I'm going to put out a year special, a 1 year special at 30% off. Like, that's usually a sign of businesses going out of business, to be honest, those sort of things. But when a buyer comes in, they will look and go, right, how many upfront memberships have you got? Because the credit of those will often come off the sale price. So you're going to have to hand that over anyway. No one's going to come in and service 30 upfront 1 year memberships without the money. So, yes, bump the numbers up, but just understand, if you do big upfront offers, then that money will probably have to go over to the new owner unless they're happy to honor it. Don't tell anyone is my next big one. Now, I've worked with owners, and what I mean by anyone is members and staff. I've worked with some owners and they've got like 5 gyms. I said, right, do your staff know it's selling? Yeah, I told the managers, I want them to be, known and comfy, and, I don't want to break their trust and da-da-da-da. Within 2 months, 2 of those managers have left. Third one's gone and set up his own business and absolutely pillaged the place. It kills the business. Loose lips sink ships. And same with members. They're like, well, people hate change. So if you run a really good business and then you like tell them, I'm going to sell, for this, and this reason, they're like, oh, we don't know who's going to come in. So you kind of open the back door up for people to leave. So literally,
Yep.
don't tell anybody. Leverage as much as you can, right? So
Okay.
get off the tools, replace yourself in the business as much as possible, outsource things, or at very least have the processes in place so you can transfer it to an under management business. And the
Okay.
simple difference is an owner operator business might get you a 1 to 1.5 multiple of profit at sale. An under
Yep.
management business might get you 2 to 3 times because someone can depend on that cash coming in, and most investors will come in and want like a 30% return on it
Yep.
when they're coming in. They don't want to have to go in there and work a full-time job for their money. So there's
Yep.
entrepreneurs and there's jobpreneurs, and that is they're
Yep.
literally buying a job, which is fine. Owner operator models are fantastic. But just be aware that it might just drop your multiple if somebody's got to come in there and run the business, do all the sales, and punch 20 PT sessions a week themselves when they buy the business. They're
Yep.
literally just replacing your income with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it depends on
Yeah,
on the size of the sale though, right? Like he's generally like that was one of the good things that did help me at Code is like I was like we had virtual assistants running all our ads. So at that stage I was only working like kind of like a half day a week, plus spot fires, which happen in all business. So
yeah.
that did help a lot. So you recommend like mate, when someone's selling a business, because a lot of the questions I have, and you covered in a point where they're just fucking over it, it's probably the worst time to sell. They're like demotivated gym owners. The business is going down, and we won't go into COVID, but they can bounce back. But
Yep.
when you're setting up a business for sale, like, do you set it up for 3 months or 6 months or 12? Or how does that kind of work?
So I tell people to prepare, like spend 3 months preparing it. And this is why, one of the things I wanted to do with moving into broking was to bring my consultancy skills to that and go, right, let me help you spend the next 3 months preparing this business for sale and boosting the sales before it actually goes
Awesome.
live with it. So that was
Yep.
what I wanted to bring as my kind of point of difference into broking, because being aware of that timeline is super important. As you noted before, stuff goes wrong that holds things up. So, if I put my business on the market today and I got an offer on it tomorrow, it's probably still 3 months till it settles.
Yep.
Average is 6. Like from listing to settlement rather, is 6 months quite often. So, like I said, just because you got an offer doesn't mean it's like you beauty, I'm off to the pub, let's get some champagne. There's a lot to be done with it, and part of that having what I call a leverage business or an under management business is making sure you've got standard operating procedures in place. You have a sales
Yep.
process. You've got an ops manual. You've got stuff in there where someone can come in and in your handover period, you can actually teach them how to run the business. Because the last thing you want
Yep.
is to hand over and then someone 2 months later comes back and goes, hang on, now you didn't even show me how to run this place. You literally walked out and left me with this, knowing people were going to leave or whatever it might be. So make sure you've got a business.
I must admit, when I bought was it called New Level? Or was it called Body Language then? Whatever I bought off you, whatever it was called back in the day, you did set me up really well. Like you taught me how to sell, how to run everything. Like I wasn't super polished, but it wasn't like I kind of knew what I had to do. Like get more leads and get them in for a consult, and here's how you close them. So I think that was incredibly important. It's one of the things you did set me up really well and so I kind of like knew what I was doing to like a pretty good level. Um, okay, so you got to set everything up. And so mate, do you sometimes so say if someone watching or listening, they want to sell their gym, do you actually work with them as well for a couple of months to help set it up? That's so good.
Yeah, so we have that as an option. It's like a bolt-on service,
Yep.
the consultancy part. I've got some consultants in America, and we do one over there where if a studio is struggling, they need the consultancy, but they can't afford it, and so instead we take a percentage of the sale price instead
Okay.
as our consultant fee because it's more palatable for the owner. We end up actually getting more from it than if they paid up front. But it's a bolt-on service that we use, and just to set the place up, because like the owner operator is the classic example where like so much IP is in that owner's head, and they're the one who does all the sales. They do the majority of the PT sessions, and there's no progression plan. So for mine, you should be like teaching your staff how to sell. Like that's the backbone of your business, isn't it? So your staff should be aware of the sales process from first contact to 2-year member, like the customer journey, if you like. Because then when you leave, you can go, right, you're now our sales manager. Hey, you've shown you're really good at it. You're a sales manager, and you've just created that little bit of leverage for you.
Yeah. Man, you're a very great mentor at that. You taught me how to sell. Remember that little red couch?
Yeah.
Brookie?
Stitch up couch.
Stitch up couch. Oh,
love that. 80% success rate on the stitch up couch for sales. Yeah, I think that's well, so why I'm so passionate about this is because, like I said, you know, my sales training when I came in was there's 3,000 members, do your best. And so like walking in thinking, how the hell am I going to get any clients? I never want anyone to feel the way I felt when I walked in there. Because like I was playing footy back then. I was like 78 kilos, and I'm walking in with these personal trainers who are bodybuilders thinking, God, why is anyone going to choose me as a trainer over these guys? But literally, I was the busiest trainer there within 3 months because I worked out it was actually the service part of it that people wanted. And I literally, the more people I helped, the more members, the more clients I got. It was as simple as that. The more people I asked, how could I help with expecting nothing in return, the more clientele I got. When they were ready to get a trainer, I'm going to go with the guy who helped me when there was nothing in it.
Yeah. Now, mate, do we have one last point, or have we covered them all?
We've covered them all. What I mean, the message I would get out to people out there at the moment is there is a lot of optimism at the moment from buyers that this is going to be our last sort of big lockdown. Certainly New South Wales, Victoria. Victorians are probably listening going, yeah, we've heard that 5 times before. But I think when these vaccination rates comes up, there's a point where you just can't keep closing businesses down, because I think everyone's found that less people come back each time with it. Like you can't just keep bleeding businesses out. But there's still a lot of interest in buyers coming in at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's really positive from us, because we thought we'd see this glut of people wanting to get out of their business and just no one wanting to buy it. It's not the case. We've had really strong inquiries.
Yeah, I'm a bit interested to hear that, because it's a very tough time to open a gym. So a lot of optimists out there. And now, mate, Richo, if someone wanted to contact you, if this kind of made sense to them. So firstly, guys, you can connect with me on socials, and I can connect you with Mark. But Mark, where's maybe the best place for them to say hello if they wanted to ask you any questions privately?
So you can email me at mark@afsbrokers.com.au. You can look up my Instagram, Mark Richardson 44. Don't mind. What we do with people who come and inquire, we do a free business valuation for them. Basically, look at their P&L, work out what the true profit of the business is, what kind of multiple they'd be looking at, depending on their market and their structure, their business structure, and then give them a recommended listing price. See if that matches up with what they're looking to get out of the business, because most people will have a number in their mind. And if that's the case and they want to go ahead, then we only do fitness businesses. We're not selling cafes and restaurants and bars and stuff. We got 13,000 people in our database looking for fitness businesses.
Oh, wow.
So Australia-wide, we're not Sydney-centric at all. Look, we kind of work on let's do one thing and do it really well, rather than try and be like a jack of all trades.
Awesome. Mate, thank you so much. And thank you for being such an incredible mentor to me. Guys, I wouldn't be here today without Mark. We could do a whole story on all the crazy shit I did when I was younger. I put up with a lot of stuff when I was crazy.
You kept it professional.
But Yeah, we're here today. So, mate, thank you so much. You've been an incredible mentor to me, and thank you for jumping on to answer so many questions. Guys, if you have any questions, reach out to Mark. If you want to hit me up, I can connect you with Mark on socials and stuff like that. My friend, thank you so much.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me. Take care.